Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Porter Palmer, and I'm with Discovery Education. It is my esteemed pleasure to introduce you guys to our host today, Mr. Philippe Cousteau. Philippe, I'm going to unmute you. Hello, my friend.
How you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. Are you excited to tell everybody about the big cleanup?
I am very excited. We've been working on this for quite some time, and we're thrilled to launch it for this summer. It's going to be an amazing program.
Great. Well, I've just passed the ball over to you. We're going to let you take the lead on this.
All right, sounds good. Well, welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're very excited. I was watching the chat window, and we have students in schools from Connecticut and New York and Maryland, Alabama, South Carolina. A special shout out to our good friend Will Tuggle, as well as students from Texas and North Carolina, Nevada, Virginia, Connecticut, Kentucky, California, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Arkansas, Florida. We are thrilled to have students joining us from all over the country. Illinois, just wonderful to see you all participate in this, and the participants are still going up, and people are continue to log on. So this is really, really exciting for us as we launch this exciting program. This for the entire summer. It's a challenge and a competition, so then have fun and change the world. So I want to, as you see here, the first slide, I just wanted to thank some of our sponsors and partners who made this possible. Of course, the USA Pavilion at the World Expo in Yosu, Korea this summer, and Toyota USA Foundation are our sponsors, and we certainly wouldn't be able to make this happen without them. And our wonderful partners as well, OneWorld, One Ocean, TerraCycle, Discovery Education, Participant Media, and of course CBK Associates, and our good friend Kathy Berger K. So it's such a pleasure to have everybody working towards this exciting program. I'm going to keep moving here, though, so we can get into the meat of it. We have, this is me. For those of you who don't know who I am, I'm the president of EarthEcho International, and the Big Cleanup is a program that we initiated to really challenge all of you out there to engage in your communities and take action over the summer. It's an opportunity to change your communities and help protect the environment and make some money and win some prizes while you're doing it. I'm a special correspondent for CNN International and host of their Going Green series, where I travel all over the world on expeditions exploring the issues that we're facing from the perspective of conservation and the environment and social issues as well. And of course, I have the honor to be the co-author of a wonderful book, Going Blue, a teen guide to saving our oceans, lakes, rivers, and wetlands, with Kathy, who you'll hear from later. So we're thrilled, again, to be here. Share some of experiences and stories. That's kind of where I want to start out, actually. I'm going to jump straight into it here with this next slide. I am privileged to have traveled all over the world and seen the environment in various stages of health, everywhere from the Arctic with polar bears to diving with great white sharks in Australia to the Indian Ocean off the coast of Africa, and all over the Atlantic and the Pacific, and diving with giant squid and sperm whales and humpback whales, and just an incredible amount of creatures and animals that I've seen in my life, and ecosystems as well. And that really started for me with my history and my background with my grandfather and my father, who were both pioneers in ocean exploration. My grandfather, Jacques Cousteau, was one of the most famous explorers in the world and helped to co-invent the aqualung. Now, the aqualung is what they used to call scuba tanks and scuba diving. And I don't know if any of you, I'm sure some of you have been scuba diving before. It's before the 1940s when my grandfather invented that. No one really had ever been diving freely in the ocean before. And many of the things that we all take for granted, I'm a big Nemo fan, I'm sure many of you out there are as well. All of those types of images were really mysteries to the public, to people in general. They didn't know about Flipper and Nemo and sharks and all the amazing creatures that live on the ocean. And when my grandfather started out in the 1940s, it was all about exploration. It was seeing things for the first time. And over the years of his work, and I remember him telling me this story many, many times, over the years of his work, it became not just about exploration, but about conservation. And in this photograph here, you can see on the left-hand side a very healthy coral reef. This happens to be a Pacific coral reef. You can tell because if you look closely, there are two little clownfish, two little Nemos swimming there in the middle bottom of the screen by the sea anemones. And coral reefs in the Mediterranean and the Red Sea, where my grandfather started diving in the 40s, really looked similar to this one. Not exactly the same, but similar to this one. And it wasn't until the 1960s when he went back and visited those old coral reefs that he came back and he started to see reefs like the right-hand one, which is clearly not healthy reef compared to the one on the left. And it changed him. And he evolved over time to really understand the importance of protecting the environment, because he saw the change in the health of the environment over the years that he was doing conservation work, and instilled that knowledge in me and that passion for exploration in me. And as I grew up and left university, I started EarthEcho International, an organization that then is designed and built and works every day to pass on that inspiration and that legacy to you guys. So that's what the big cleanup is all about. I have to say that we're very excited to be partnered with the USA Pavilion this year. The US Pavilion is the building on site at the World Expo in South Korea this summer that tells the story of the United States oceans and coasts. I'm sure many of you have heard of World Fairs and World Expos, and last year the World Fair was in Shanghai, China. Well, this year the World Expo, slightly different, more or less the same thing, is in Korea. And we were honored with the opportunity to represent the United States. The theme of the World Expo is Living Oceans and Coasts. And we designed a pavilion. There you can see people entering into it on the left-hand side, and one of the exhibits on a large 70-foot wide screen in the right-hand photo. We had the opportunity to tell the amazing story of the United States and our living oceans and coasts to people all over the world. We've been open about 2 weeks, and 250,000 people have already visited the U.S. Pavilion, and we estimate that a few million by the time the expo closes in August will have learned about the United States and the stories of our incredible diversity of our living oceans and coasts. So without this support from the USA Pavilion as part of their educational outreach for this summer and the expo, this webinar and this challenge, the summer-long challenge, wouldn't be possible. So special thanks to the USA Pavilion and to all the work they're doing in Korea to tell the story of the United States. So what is the big cleanup? Well, listen, I'm going to get more into that later, but I want to just touch on it briefly here. The big cleanup is it's a summer-long challenge all about challenging you guys to take action, to clean up trash in your communities, to raise money, to earn prizes, and ultimately change the world, because that is what EarthEcho understands, if nothing else, that you guys, every single one of you, are change agents, and you are the ones, believe me, that have the power to change the world. As I said, I travel a lot, and I speak to a lot of conferences and work with a lot of people, and I'm always amazed and empowered and given hope by all the work that I see of young people changing their communities, helping the environment, helping each other all over the world, and it's really inspiring. And so this challenge is a way to help you guys do more and also win some money and win some prizes, which is always fun to do. Now, I have the honor and the privilege of being able to work with OneWorld, One Ocean and McGillivray Freeman Films on this project. I don't know if we have Barbara, if Barbara's been able to join us yet. Porter?
She is not with us yet, I don't think. Let's give her 1 second just to make sure. It doesn't look like she has been able to join us, Philippe.
Well, no worries. I will. McGillivray Freeman is an amazing organization, and we are really pleased and privileged to be able to work with them on this big cleanup program. Now, I'm sure many of you guys have seen IMAX films before, right? The big format films that you can go to and see movies about the Arctic and see movies about Mount Everest. So many different of these IMAX films, McGillivray-Freeman films. So Greg, that's a photo of Greg and Barbara there on the slide, have pioneered IMAX environmental filmmaking for decades. They're incredible, and they've made over 30 award-winning IMAX films, as you can see. And the most recent one, which maybe some of you have gone to see, and if you haven't, I urge you to go see, is To the Arctic, an amazing film. And McGillivray-Freeman Films, as part of their commitment to the environment, has just launched this year or last year a program called One World, One Ocean, which is a commitment to protect and inspire people around the world to protect our oceans. And it is a multi-platform program where they are launching expeditions, doing films, events, television programs, community outreach and education like this program that we're doing, and digital media. And it's a 20-year commitment to helping people around the world understand the importance of our oceans. Because let me tell you guys, I'm sure many of you know this because you're all super smart, but many of you know that the oceans are the life support system of our planet. In the same way that we have machines in hospitals that help keep people alive, the oceans help keep the entire planet alive. They provide 60 to 70% of our oxygen, so every 3 out of 4 breaths that you take, I want you to thank the oceans. They provide seafood and protein to billions of people around the world. They help to regulate our climate and our weather, and they're critical to life as we know it on this planet. And McGillivray-Freeman Films is committed with this campaign to help all of us understand that. And part of their main community and education outreach is this partnership with us and the big cleanup. So as we wanted to run a little bit through, because of course the big cleanup is all about trash. And I wanted to share with you what kind of a problem trash is, not just in our communities, but in the oceans. And nearly everything we eat, if you look around your classroom or lunchtime, nearly everything we eat, drink, or use comes packaged in plastic. We consume billions of plastics and bottles each year in the United States alone. And we consume 15 to 17 million barrels of oil just to create all that plastic. Because think about that. Plastic bottles are mainly a petroleum product. And not only that, but every plastic bottle that we create, every little plastic bottle that can hold, say, a liter of water, imagine that it takes 7 times as much water to create that plastic as the water that that plastic holds. So every time you drink a plastic bottle, imagine 7 other plastic bottles worth of water that was used and wasted to make that plastic, to manufacture that. And right now, unfortunately, we only recover about 5% of the plastics that we produce. And so, question is, of course, what happens to all the rest of it? Well, roughly 50% of plastic is buried in landfills, and plastic never goes away. You know, we always use that phrase, I'm going to throw this away. That doesn't happen. We never throw anything away. It doesn't just go away. It doesn't just disappear. It ends up in our streets, in our sewers, in landfills, and a lot of it ends up, finally, in the ocean, because remember, we all live downstream from one another. So it breaks down into smaller pieces, what's called photodegradation, but it doesn't actually go away. So the sunlight helps to break down the plastic into smaller and smaller pieces, but it never, ever disappears. And as it breaks down into smaller pieces, as you can see in this photograph right here in the ocean, a lot of animals begin to mistake it for food and ingest it. And this is a fish that has eaten plastic, and the plastic, since they can't digest it, stays in their stomach. And unfortunately, it stays in their stomach, and they starve to death with a full stomach. It happens to birds, it happens to sea turtles, large plastic fishing line and nets get caught around the beaks of birds, get caught around dolphins, can even get caught around whales, and sometimes can kill even largest whales of the ocean. And this is a photograph on the right here of just what it looks like in some parts of the ocean of plastic floating everywhere. And unfortunately, even worse, it gets into the food stream because plastics absorb a lot of toxins. And so when they're inside the bodies of the fish, the toxins leach into the bodies of the fish. And when we eat those fish, those toxins like PCBs and dioxins get into our bloodstream as well. And there's a lot of concern that these toxic compounds can also be hurting human beings that consume the fish, that consume all of that plastic. This is a close-up of what it looks like, and I've been diving all over the world, and I want to share a story with you. I was filming a documentary up in the Arctic, one of the coldest parts in the entire world, and I remember we were in all of our Arctic equipment. It must have been minus 30 degrees out there, and unfortunately, as I was walking along one day along the beach, I was wearing all my thick coats and boots. I saw washing up on the shore a little sandal, a flip-flop, right? A flip-flop that certainly no one is wearing in the Arctic. The oceans are a huge, vast area with strong currents that carry trash and waste all over. And someone with a flip-flop somewhere in some warm climate, washed into the ocean, and it ended up in the Arctic. So that's a strong reminder that everything we do makes an impact. Everything we do makes a difference, and it all has an impact ultimately on the oceans. And everything that's bad for the oceans is bad for us. So, and I see some currents here, some questions here. As I said, ocean currents can carry plastic very, very far. If you've seen some of the news come out lately, some of the plastic from the Japanese tsunami and the trash is now washing up on the shores of Oregon and Alaska and Washington states on the Pacific coast. So unfortunately, a lot of our waste does end up into the oceans. And as I said, it also hurts animals. This is a picture of a sea lion, and with a scar around its neck where likely fishing line or some sort of plastic line has caught around its neck, and as the sea lion has grown, the plastic doesn't stretch, and it eats into the neck of the sea lion. I know it's a hard picture to look at, but this is the type of thing we see all over the world. So, what can we do about it? Well, we want you to join us, and that's what the big cleanup is all about, because every single day we hear all of these problems, we hear all these challenges, and you know what, it kind of sounds overwhelming. What can any of us do? And that's a really good question. A lot of people ask me that question. The truth is we can do a lot. We have a ton of power in our communities about taking action and changing our communities. So with that, we promised in a lot of our social media and promoting this webinar that we would have a video. So we do have a video to play for you that's called from an organization called 5 Gyres that OneWorld, One Ocean is partnered with, and we're very excited to bring this few minutes to share with you this challenge. So Porter, I'll pass it back to you to get that going.
Sure thing. So hi guys, hope you're enjoying having Philippe walk you through this and learning about the big cleanup and all the things that we can do to protect the life that's in our oceans. We have a short video. It's about 2 minutes, a little bit over 2 minutes, and we're going to be really quiet while you guys watch it. I'm going to put the link in 2 different places. One, I'm just going to push it out for you so that you should be able to just watch it in the window. I'll warn you that it is hosted on YouTube, so some of you may have some difficulty if you are in a school accessing it, but I'm also going to put it in the chat window so that you can access it later if you would like. So it's going to show up here in just a second in another window right in front of you, and it should play automatically. If it doesn't, then you'll just hit the play button like you would on any YouTube video. And then when it's done for you, just let me know in the chat window that you're all done with it by saying done, and then we'll start talking again. So here it comes, and now I'm going to be quiet.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Porter. So I know that some of you, unfortunately, the schools were blocking the, for some of you, the schools were blocking the video. So I know Porter put up a link to that video, and we'll certainly be able to share that with you again, that you can all watch. It's really worth seeing that video. And it was mostly just photographs and images and some interviews with folks from the Five Gyres organization, which is tracking what's known as the Pacific Garbage Patch and other areas in the ocean that the currents come together, swirl together, and concentrate plastics in these circular currents. And it is really pretty shocking when you see photos of birds and skeletons of birds with plastics where their stomach was, so because they also filled themselves on plastic, because as the plastic gets smaller and smaller and smaller, it begins to resemble phytoplankton and some of the very small organisms in the ocean that birds and many fish, small fish species, feed upon. And in some areas of the ocean, the United Nations estimates actually an average area of the ocean. Every square mile has about 40,000 pieces of plastic floating in it. Every square mile of the ocean, not just the Pacific Gyres and the Great Garbage Patch, as it's called. Those areas have a much higher concentration of trash. So we will definitely make sure that you have access to that link, and y'all can watch that video again. It's a really powerful and impactful video. Now, we also partner with Usa Conservancy, and they're wonderful organizations. They're the oldest non-ocean conservation organization focused on conservation ocean conservation in the United States. And they do a program every fall in September called the International Coastal Cleanup. And they've done it for many, many years and collected information about what are the #1 ocean waste items found in their cleanup. What's the #1 marine debris, as it's called, it's found. And it's pretty shocking when you think about it. The #1 is cigarettes and cigarette butts. Now, we all know smoking and cigarettes is bad. So it's not only bad for our health, but it's also bad for the environment in many different ways. And many of you might not have realized it, but when people are walking down the street and they flick their cigarette into the street, you know, they think, oh, just a little cigarette, the little filter that's on the end there that helps to collect all of those toxins, it's just one cigarette. But when you multiply that by the billions of people that are smoking many, many times a day, it adds up to a lot of cigarettes in the ocean and in the environment that carrying all those toxins also into the environment. And so cigarette butts are the #1 item that is found as marine debris on beaches and in beach cleanups. Next comes plastics, caps and lids, typically plastic. Plastic beverage bottles is third, those plastic bottles we talked about. Plastic bags, which are just awful. Such a crazy idea to use something that will never, ever go away for a few minutes to carry a few items from the store to the car and from car to home, and when we can just use a reusable bag. Food wrappers and containers, again, mostly plastic. Cups, plates, forks, knives, spoons, again, mostly plastic. Glass beverage bottles, straws and stirs, mostly plastic. Beverage cans, of course, that's usually aluminum, and paper bags. And those are the items that we find, the top 10 items that we find in beach cleanups. And threats to wildlife. You know, what are the threats to wildlife? Of course, for amphibians, as you see, they can become entangled in beverage bottles and debris. Birds become entangled in fishing line and nets. Hundreds of thousands of seabirds are lost every year, getting caught in fishing nets. Mammals also become entangled in fishing nets and other debris. I've seen whales and dolphins and sea lions and seals wrapped in fishing nets before. Corals and sponges down lower on the ocean can get smothered by plastic bags and other things. Fish, invertebrates like squid, and of course reptiles, sea turtles, etc. All of these different animals are at threat from plastics. So with that, that's kind of the story. And in fact, I should also say real quick that, you know, it's not just about the health of the environment and the health of animals. As I pointed out a little bit earlier, it's also about the health of people, of ingesting the toxins that come from this plastic. And it's also about our economy, guys. I'm sure many of you have heard the headlines that, you know, our economy is not in very good shape. Well, plastic bags, plastic debris and waste costs cities and towns and municipalities and states millions of dollars every year to clean them up. Think about a plastic bag in a sewage pipe. It can clog it up. They have to go then and clean that out. People have to go in and clean that out. It blocks up sewage treatment systems and water treatment systems. Municipalities pay for people to clean up the beaches so that there's not so much trash. Tourists won't come. So it costs us a lot of money as well. Money that could go to things like education, things like healthcare. So we don't really need to be using plastic bags and all these plastic bottles, because I'll tell you what, we end up paying a very, very hefty price for using those plastics in the long run, out of our parents' tax dollars, and when you get older, out of your tax dollars. Again, tax dollars that could go to really important things like education, like healthcare, things like that. So this marine debris issue is a real, real problem. You don't just need to live on the coast, folks. Any rivers or streams, they exist all over the country. Sewage treatment plants, water treatment plants exist in every town pretty much in the United States. So no matter where you live, this marine debris issue, or just debris period, plastic debris, is a big, big problem. So with that, I'm going to pass you on to one of my favorite people in the world, Kathy Berger-Kay. She's just an amazing individual. She's president of CBK Associates. You saw their logo earlier. She's a consultant that travels around the world working on education. She's my co-author on Going Blue, and she's also the author of our action guides, including the CleanUP Action Guide, which is what we want you to, or we're providing for you as a tool and resource to think about what you could do in your community. And so I'm going to pass it over to Kathy, and she's going to talk you through how we can, and each of you can do a program in your community that can change the world. Kathy?
Hey, Philippe. Great to hear from you today. This is all wonderful, and it's so exciting to hear the chatter. People are talking about how important this information is, how much the kids who are watching care about this topic, and all the great ideas we can do to make this happen. So this is fantastic. So thanks for including me in this webinar. So as Philippe said, I'm busy all over the planet like he is, though he has a wider travel schedule than I do. But we both travel the world to help bring these ideas to kids and teachers in schools to get everyone involved in cleaning up and making a big impact in their communities. So one of the ways that we get this done is through service learning. And service learning is a process that your classroom or your youth group can be involved in, or you can work in with some friends in any grouping to help really look at what are the issues going on around you and what can you do to take action and make a real impact that teaches others, educates others, and actually reduces the amount of garbage and trash getting into our streams, rivers, lakes, and ending up in our oceans. So the process is to investigate, prepare, take action, and then along the way you get to do some reflection and demonstrate what you've done to others. Now, Philippe mentioned the action guide called CleanUP, and this is easy to download at waterplanetchallenge.org. It's a resource that guides you through all the stages of service learning and gives information that takes all these ideas and really carries you further. So I'm going to walk you through simply what these 5 stages are. The first one is to investigate. What do we need to investigate? Right in your backyard, you're going to see where trash exists. Is it in the gutters and the is it people throwing things away at parks and picnics and it gets into our gutters and flows into our water system? You might live near a beach or edge of a lake that's used and there's trash that accumulates there. You might even see trash right at your school, right from the playground to the lunchroom. You might see things being discarded that could be reused again, that could be recycled or upcycled, or used in ways that they do not get into our trash stream, but instead they're put to good use. So if we start looking about what we're throwing away, whether it's at school or at home, we'll start investigating and identifying what we can reduce, what we can reuse, what we can recycle, what we can upcycle, and how we can rethink the whole idea of trash and using it differently. After we investigate, the next stage is really to prepare. Learn about your local issues. Do you have partners that you can be involved in who are already doing cleanups? When are things happening? Where? What kind of supplies do you need? And how can you document what you're doing? Be sure to document your story from the very beginning, and we'll show you how you can upload your pictures into the Water Planet Challenge website and be part of this big cleanup challenge. Be sure to look at the roles and responsibilities so all students get involved. You can have an action team that looks at the logistics of a cleanup, a team that promotes what you're doing, a documenting team, a learning team that digs deeper into the information and shares this with others, and a fun team to make sure that all students are involved, learning and having a really good time. All of these ideas are outlined in the Big Cleanup lessons from the Water Planet Challenge Action Guide. You'll also see there's a document that helps you collect the data of what you're finding so that you can actually tabulate all these items, whether it's the plastic wrappers, the plastic bags, plastic bottles, cigarette butts, so you can keep track of what you're finding and know what is going on in your communities. Take photographs of what you're finding and the process. And this leads you to some of the bigger questions. Can this trash be avoided? What can we do to reduce the trash being produced in the first place? How do we replace single-use water bottles with bottles we can use again and again? So we have to begin asking these deeper and bigger questions. How can this trash be avoided? We also want you to reflect. What is going on? What are the processes you're doing? What happened in the process of cleaning up? What did you feel during it? Did you get upset? Did you get excited? Did you get stimulated? Did you teach others? What new ideas do you have to carry this further? And what can you do? What questions are you generating? You always want to generate new questions, so this propels you further in the whole process of both service learning and being involved in your environment as kids who clean up and don't make a mess. You know, we always learn if you make a mess, you clean it up. That's what we learn at home. That's what we learn at school. So we've just created a bigger mess, and we need to be responsible to clean it up. We want you also to demonstrate, to share with others what the process is that you've been doing. Tell others your story. As I've been reading the chat room, people are saying they've learned that people in their community don't know about the impact of trash, the impact of plastics. Young people are the best ones to go out there and teach their parents, the community, to let them know what you know. Educate others, reduce the plastics, collect it, and you'll find out next from TerraCycle how we then take the plastic and use it to enter the big cleanup and make a big, big impact in our communities. We want you to gather the stories and demonstrate. Share it, be loud, be proud of what you're doing, and what you do can become a model for others. So make sure you download CleanUP from Water Planet Challenge, and the URL will be provided for you so that you can be part of this process and make it educational, make it active, make it fun, and make it make a huge impact. What you do matters. Remember, we want to reduce, reuse, recycle, upcycle, and rethink the whole process. So I'd like to pass this now on to Tom, who's going to tell you more about the big cleanup and the steps for recycle, and so how you can really be involved in the big cleanup and the big cleanup challenge. Tom, take it away.
Audio is coming through. Oh, okay, I'm on. Thank you guys very, very much for having me. This is Tom Zaki. I'm the founder and CEO of TerraCycle. And what I want to talk to you about first, before we get into exactly what we're going to be able to do together, is I'd like to just ask a bigger question here about what really is garbage. This has been a question that has really captivated myself and also all of the folks in TerraCycle on how we can really solve this problem. And I think it's important we ask the question of what really is garbage. First, garbage doesn't exist in nature. You know, if we could talk to a tree and say, hey, you know, Mr. Tree, how you doing? And, you know, we talked about the weather a bit. Then I would ask the tree, well, what do you think about garbage? The biggest issue that would happen is the tree wouldn't know what to say, because in nature, there is no such thing as waste. Every output from any system, say if a leaf falls off a tree, or if we take a poop in the forest, or whatever it may be, is the most important input for the next thing. And so waste is really completely a man-made idea. And I would say that it's also a very modern idea. I think if we go back, you know, many years, maybe to our parents and then maybe to their parents or our grandparents, we would find that waste didn't really exist the way it does. The reason we have garbage is really two things. One is we buy way more stuff than we need. And I think if there's any solution, you know, that people should think about, my biggest message here is don't buy stuff. If you could stop buying things, then all these problems would disappear. And, you know, think about it. Today, if like you have a hole in your t-shirt, you simply throw it out and buy a new one. You don't go take a needle and thread and fix it. Or we don't cobble our shoes anymore. We don't really use things over and over. So one of the things we have to think about is really to buy less. But since we buy a lot of stuff, we have a problem. The other thing is that we also make stuff now out of very complex things, like plastics and styrofoams and weird materials that make it hard for nature to process. And those are the two things that really create waste. Now, if you look at waste, there's really two types of garbage. There's really garbage, as you can see on the left-hand side of this slide, that are recyclable. Things like rigid plastic, like PET, things like aluminum cans, simple paper, and so on. Glass as well. Most cities in America have some form of recycling, and those things, to some degree, are recycled. I think the challenge that we have to look at is potentially recycle even more. But the bigger problem is that 80% of the stuff we buy is not recyclable. So there is no choice. We have to put it in the garbage. And if you live in Europe or Japan or South Korea, your garbage is typically burned for energy. If you live in the U.S. or most of the Americas, Eastern Europe, and so on, then most of your waste ends up in a landfill. And these are not really good solutions. So, the other thing is it's a very big problem. It's over 5 billion tons a year of garbage ends up in our system, and a lot of that, as you heard already from Philippe and everyone else, ends up in the ocean. A huge amount of plastic ends up in these gyres all over the ocean, and they just photodegrade, and it makes a mush, and it's really, really hard to clean up. Now, one of the things that we should look at in solving waste is what really is garbage. And I would argue that garbage is made from three things. First, it's made from the material it's made from. So if we take a paper cup, like say a Starbucks cup, that's made from paper and a little bit of plastic. So that's the material. But it's not just paper and plastic in my hand in a big pile. It actually looks like a cup. So it's also the features. What is it made into? And then finally, it's one other very important thing, which is the intention. It's the goal of a cup is really to hold a liquid. It's not to plant a plant. It's not to do something else. It's simply to hold a liquid. So our team at TerraCycle around the world has come up with a hierarchy, or what is the worst thing to do with garbage and what is the very best thing to do with garbage. The worst thing to do is put it in a big pile and send it to a landfill. That's what we do in the U.S. with most of our garbage, and it really stinks. Now, the next thing we can do, which is what's very popular in Europe, especially Germany, for example, is to burn for energy. At least there we recover a little bit of energy from the waste, but then a lot of it goes in the air, and there's a lot of negatives that come. Now, what TerraCycle does with the garbage that you guys send to us, in order of priority is first we look at reuse, then upcycling, and then recycling. So let me talk to you about what each of these are. Reuse is when you use every aspect of the waste, the material, its features, and its intention. And we do that a lot with electronics. It's very easy to fix a computer instead of shredding it and melting it down. Same with shoes and clothing. And then also a unique example is this next image. Last year, we collect butter tubs and yogurt pots that many of you on the phone have sent to us. Last year, 35 million plants were packaged in butter tubs that you guys sent us. All we did was put a hole in the bottom of the butter tub, and that's how it was sold at major retailers all over the West Coast. 35 million plants, all reused, thanks to the folks who sent it in to us. So that's reuse. That's the very best thing you can do with garbage. And you don't even have to send it to us. Many times you can do this at home yourself. Now, the next thing we can do is upcycling. Upcycling means that you value the material and the features of the garbage. You can see a few examples here, but I'm just going to walk you through a couple of fun ones. Here's speakers made from chip bags that Brigaders sent us. Or here's a soccer ball made from juice pouches that many of you guys have sent us. Here's even a shoe made from Starbucks packaging, all the way to here's a dress made from 6,000 used M&M peanut wrappers that is now in the Museum of Modern Art in New York City. And there's thousands and thousands and thousands of different products that we can make with upcycling. Now, the next thing is recycling. That is where you value the material that something is made from. And what we do is we recycle the non-recyclable. To give you some sort of extreme examples of stuff I'm really excited about is in Brazil, later this year, we launched the world's first program for used chewing gum. Actually used chewing gum is going to be collected all across Brazil and sent in, and we can make it into a plastic. In the U.S., at the end of this year, we're going to launch the world's first national program for used dirty diapers. So we're going to be collecting used dirty diapers and then turning it into fertilizer and into plastics. And even in Canada, we just launched a national program for cigarette butts, and now we can actually recycle cigarette butts into all sorts of plastic stuff. What the team of scientists at TerraCycle have found is that without any exception, there is no type of garbage that cannot be either reused, upcycled, or recycled. And just for fun, because I'm watching the chat room right now, if anyone has a random difficult waste stream they want to text over, I'll tell you exactly what we do to it. I'll wait just a second or two if anyone has something they'd like to hear how we solve it. Styrofoam. Okay, so styrofoam is a plastic compound, and what we can do with styrofoam is actually by adding, it's a little technical, but by adding a solvent to it, we can melt it and then reform it into a plastic, which would be called recycling. Another example was plastic straws. Plastic straws can very easily be upcycled or recycled. Videotapes is a really fun one. Videotapes, one thing we do is we can make a fabric from cassettes and videotapes. We take out the inside and we can weave it together into a fabric. I actually have a videotape tie at my desk, and they can also be melted and recycled. And basically, we also do collect medical waste and other things. DVDs, you can make them into ornaments for Christmas trees by laser cutting little things out of DVDs, and then you can also recycle the rest. And one last one I'll just for fun talk to is about markers. We collect pens now in 15 countries around the world, and we can actually make them into new pens. We just shred them, melt them, and we make them into new pens. So here's another example of recycling. This guy is Mr. Potato Head. Now, this Mr. Potato Head is really special because he was made entirely from used potato chip bags. This is the world's first Mr. Potato Head entirely from potato chip bags. So just so you can see everything, juice pouches, for example, can be upcycled, which are the two bags, or they can be recycled, which is the example of the stone or the fence. Or take something like cookie wrappers, they can be recycled, which is the example of the trash can, or upcycled, which is the example of the speakers or the bags. Now, when we collect waste in two parts. One is we collect from the factories that produce these things, like the Oreo factory or the chip bag factory. But then we also collect the waste that you make, once you buy a chip bag or a cookie wrapper, what happens then? And the way that works is you can go to the TerraCycle website at TerraCycle.com, or I know there's some folks on the phone from around the world. TerraCycle today is in 22 countries around the world, so if you're calling from somewhere else, you can also join us in your local country. And you just pick any program. There's 52 programs in the U.S., everything from shoes to pens to juice pouches and so on. You just join the website. You say that you're going to collect that waste stream. You take any cardboard box you have. You then fill it up with that type of waste. And one very important thing some people are sometimes confused by is, even if, say, Colgate is the brand who is sponsoring the oral care collection program, which is toothbrushes and toothpaste tubes, any brand of toothbrushes or toothpaste tubes, even if it's not Colgate, can be easily put in. It's not a problem. So it's not brand specific. It just happens to be paid for by a certain brand. Now, once your box is full, you go back to our website, download a free shipping label, and send it to us. And then once we check it in, we typically donate 2 cents for every piece of waste you collected into your account. And then you get to choose any school or any charity in America or in the country you collected, and we'll pay directly those funds to you every 6 months. And people have raised already around the world over $6 million in collecting garbage. And what we're really excited about today is the big cleanup contest. So we've, Philippe and I and everyone on the phone have partnered together to create the big cleanup contest. You can see the website, www.earthecho.org/bigcleanup. And we're going to be giving away some fun prizes for whoever can collect, whichever location can collect the most waste between June 8th and September 7th. June 8th is tomorrow, so collection your collections officially count starting tomorrow, and it goes until whatever packages we receive on September 7th. Now, the way you join the program is just go to that website, and you join the contest as if you were joining one of our brigades. It'll simply show up in your user page as a brigade, and that means you are in the contest. Then we look at how much waste you're going to collect in any of the 50 programs that we have running. So you can be collecting shoes or you can be collecting chip bags. It doesn't matter. We're going to add those numbers together, and whoever collects the most pieces of garbage is going to receive a grand prize. And the grand prize is that both Philippe and I are going to come out and visit you guys, as well as give you a $500 donation to your organization. Now, there are second and third prizes as well. For the second and third place finishers, you'll be awarded $250 donations. And then if you finish either 4th to 10th, everyone will receive a $100 gift pack from both TerraCycle and OneWorld, One Ocean. So we're really excited. I want to thank everyone who's spoken so far, and I hope that you guys have learned a lot about the ocean, a lot about garbage, and I really hope that we can work together to collect even more garbage, save it from going into the oceans, and have a lot of fun in the process. And both Philippe and I look forward to visiting whoever can collect the most garbage. We're very excited about that. Thank you very much.
Tom, that was fantastic, my friend. Thank you. You know, every time, and I visited TerraCycle's headquarters in New Jersey, and every time I visit and every time I see what they're doing, I'm blown away. I know that all of you are seeing the comments in the chat window here. I know that you all are as impressed as I am. It's really just amazing what TerraCycle's doing, and the hope that it represents, because a lot of the photos and a lot of the stats and information we shared with you is pretty depressing, and it's really empowering, I think, to see that there are solutions that all of us can be a part of, and it's really heartening. And to think that you can raise 2 cents for most items that you send in, and really, I mean, they raised $6 million. That's incredible. And it's really important too. I want to share something, a little bit of the inside scoop on this whole project. You know, for a long time, nonprofits have been doing programs where they encourage people to take action, and then they don't really know what the impact of that action is. And what we're really trying to do at EarthEcho, and what you guys are at the very pioneering beginning of with us, is to work with groups like TerraCycle that have figured out how can we provide an incentive and actually track how much waste we've collected. So this is really, really important, the big cleanup, because not only are we going to collect trash this summer, but we're going to prove a whole new way for us to take action and launch these types of campaigns to all of the other organizations that we work with in the world, and prove to them that we can actually track how much waste and how much impact you guys have. And at the end of the summer, we're going to have one big number. Not only will each of you know personally, because TerraCycle can track this, how much waste that you've collected, but we're going to have one big number that really helps all of us get our mind around how much trash, what kind of an impact we've had. And that's really remarkable. It's cutting edge. It's brand new. It's really pioneering work, and we're thrilled to have you guys help us do this summer, because next year we're going to take everything that we learned from this pilot this summer, and we plan on doing a lot more of this next year during the full school year. So this is really, really important, really, really exciting for each of us. And again, as you see here, we have some amazing sponsors and partners that have made this whole program possible. And as Tom said, I know he and I are both very excited about coming to visit whoever is the winning class that recycles, or school that recycles the most trash this summer. So go and register. Starting today, you can go and start online today and start doing things tomorrow, sending your trash tomorrow at earthecho.org, the big cleanup. The site is live now through our website, and you go to TerraCycle site and you sign up online with them, and then you are ready to go. And we encourage you guys to send photos to our Twitter account at EarthEcho, and all of us will be retweeting them. Myself will be retweeting the best photographs, and EarthEcho will be retweeting the best photographs. And certainly use the hashtag #BigCleanup when you tweet and send a note to us, and certainly if you send them to Facebook as well. And then here at links.discoveryeducation.com/BigCleanupSurvey, you can go and complete a survey for a chance to win one of our EarthEcho Water Planet Challenge flip cams, a custom-made flip cam for you guys. For the first group of you that go to the survey and fill that out. So we've got a few minutes here, and with that, I want to I want you to be able to go, and I see a couple of chat rooms. Remember, go to the website, earthecho.org/big cleanup, and the link there will take you directly to TerraCycle and where you can sign up. So with that, I know we've been watching the chat room, and we're ready for some questions. We've got a few more minutes here, and ready to hear from you guys. So what's on your minds? Well, I'm glad you guys are enjoying the webinar, but I'm sure there's got to be some questions you have, some things that you've been thinking about as you've listened up on the webinar. How do you find out who won previous contests? Well, we've never actually done this before. So this is a brand new thing for us. And this is a pilot of this program over the summer. So you guys are the first pioneers to be working on this with us. And I'll tell you what, we I saw a couple of the folks mention that they're in elementary school. Of course, elementary students can get involved in this. Sign up as a brigade and send in trash, and we'd love to have you participate. Another good question from Olivia and Carter. What's the biggest challenge you think we face with regards to getting plastic bags banned in the U.S.? Tom, do you want to pop in on that question?
Yeah, thank you, Philippe. The biggest challenge I think we have, not just with plastic bags, but frankly any type of waste that we don't like, is us. It's our own selves. It's we're out there actually requesting these things. You know, when you go into a store and you take a plastic bag, whether they ask you if you want one or not, that means you are voting for more plastic bags. So it's not, you know, yes, we can, you know, lobby government and try to make changes that way, but it's very, very difficult. I think the most powerful way that we can change the type of materials that we touch are what we buy and what we ask for. So the best thing I think that that you can do if you don't like plastic bags is make sure that every time you go into a store, you never ask for a plastic bag, and if they give you one, you give it back. Same when you go and buy your fruits and vegetables. Instead of putting each fruit and vegetable into a little plastic bag and then that into a bigger plastic bag, don't. Just put it in your cart and good to go. There was another question that came up a couple of times that I just want to address, as many people are asking about plant-based plastic substitutes. And you know, there's a lot of talk in the industry about whether biodegradable packaging is a good idea or a bad idea. One of the challenges with biodegradable packaging is that there is no real good collection system in America for it. Most people don't have green collections, and also many composting facilities, even really, really professional ones, don't want to take them. A good example is we do a lot of work with Frito-Lay, and they released a biodegradable chip bag for Sun Chips. And when they pulled that product, all the Sun Chip bags came to us, but we had a very, very hard time even giving it to composters because it's not easy to integrate into compost. The other challenge with biodegradable material is it takes a lot of energy to convert soil all the way to a plastic. So you have to go soil, and you have to grow a plant, then the plant has to be refined, then the refined plastic turns into a product, all just so that it could turn right back to soil. I think the really best thing we can do, it's not biodegradable plastic, it's taking the plastic that we already have in the system, collecting it, and using it over and over and over again. Not putting it in a landfill, not putting it in the ocean, and not putting it into a waste-to-energy facility.
That's a great comment, Tom. Thank you. I see a couple other questions coming in here. One is about the death rate of animals. Is there any way for us to know the death rate of animals in the wild from plastics? And unfortunately, especially in the ocean, there is no way to know. We know it's hundreds and hundreds of thousands of birds, if not more. But when animals die in the wild, oftentimes we don't find them. They sink in the ocean, and we never know. So there's no way to know that for sure. Another question is about the contest date. Could it be extended? Well, this is in partnership, as I said earlier, with the Usa Pavilion this summer, and this is really a pilot of this program. We really want to test out some of these technologies, and so those of you who have signed on and participated today and will continue to participate over the summer, it's really, really important because you're going to help us learn a lot about how to do this, because we've never done this before. No one really has done a program quite like this before, so we really want to learn a lot from you guys and be able to know when we launch the programs next year in the school year what works and the best. And I should also point out, and Tom, you might want to speak to this a little bit more with respect to the brigade, we don't have to school necessarily to participate in this summer. I saw a lot of you asking that question about what if you're not in school, and when school is over, can you
Yes, absolutely. I think that, so first, the brigades today are in 22 countries. I noticed some people asking about Canada and other countries. The easiest way to find another country is just go to the website. There's a little drop-down menu, and you can choose from 22 countries where you can run brigades in, including Canada, Mexico, and many other countries. In addition, just to address a couple of questions that have come up, in addition, any brigade that you're involved with during the June 8th to September 7th period counts towards the contest. All you have to do, whether you're collecting already or whether you're going to join today, is just join the contest. It'll show up actually like a brigade on your user page, and then suddenly you are entered, and all of your collections for any packages received in between June 8th and September 7th will count. And then you can continue to collect as long as you like. The intention of our brigade programs are not just as contests, they're intended to be permanent collection programs. And what's really exciting is I see a lot of folks on the chat room who are drink pouch brigade collectors. What's really amazing, in 5 years, we launched that program in 2007. Today we collect, and thanks to you guys out there, 500,000 juice pouches every day, which means that together we are collecting 3% of all of the juice pouches in America. 3% in 5 years, which is really, really incredible, and that happens every single month. And again, most brigades give 2 cents for every piece of garbage. You will still get that 2 cents even if you're in the contest, so the contest is just extra. And again, the money goes to any school or charity that you designate. So you just put that into your user page. It's very, very simple. And if you guys have any questions once we end the call today, please call TerraCycle Customer Service. The phone numbers are available on our website, and our customer service team is happy to help you out.
You know, thank you, Tom. I've seen a couple of you also ask questions about how can you influence people in your community. I'll tell you, you can influence people in your community by taking action. You know, we watch television and we listen to commercials, but the research really tells us that the biggest influencers in communities and in households are youth, are you guys. Believe it or not, you know, a lot of adults are decision makers, but you guys are the opinion makers. Young people under the age of 18 spend about $200 billion a year in the national economy here in the United States. That means you have a tremendous power on what you buy, what you influence your friends and parents to buy, and don't underestimate. Just because you can't vote or just because you're not making necessarily the buying decisions at home and in your community, you have incredible power for you to have influence in your community, in your home, with your friends. And that's really, really important. And taking action, raising money. You can raise a lot of money this summer for your school, for any nonprofit that you care about in your community, and you can make a real positive impact. And we'll be able to thank you, and we'll be able to retweet your photographs. We'll be able to send it out on Facebook and really celebrate the amazing work that you're doing. And this, as I said, is a pilot. We're learning. You're part of this new exciting journey with us. We're excited to have you on board. I'm just thrilled that so many of you joined us today, and I'm really grateful to be able to work with you going forward the rest of the summer and forward into next year as well.
Thank you guys so much for joining us. Thank you to our panelists. We hope that you guys have enjoyed this informative webinar, and we hope that you will join the big cleanup. I'm going to post one more time information about the big cleanup and the big cleanup survey. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. There's a question about a certificate of participation. If there is a certificate, Melissa will be emailing all of the participants with information, including a link to the archive next week. So if a certificate is being offered for this, it will be included in that.
Absolutely.
Great to have everybody here. Thanks so much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Kathy and Tom and everybody on our team and Discovery Education for all your partnership and your involvement. Have a wonderful afternoon and a wonderful summer.
And a great cleanup.
And the big cleanup, that's right.